everyone, this is Ravinder Dundra and welcome to my channel. In this lecture, we will discuss about class 10th CBSE Economics chapter number 2, that is sectors of this Indian economy. In the previous lectures about this chapter, we have discussed about this organized sector as well as unorganized sector, and we have found the difference that unorganized sector is somewhat more in vulnerable condition where it is not having any job security, no regular employment, no rules and regulations are followed, no proper benefits are given. So because of these problems in this unorganized sector, the workers who are working under this unorganized sector, they need some protection. So therefore the next topic which we are going to discuss is about this, how to protect workers in the unorganized sector. As you all know that in India, most of the workers coming under this unorganized sector only, they constitute almost 80% or more than 80% of the people in India, they come under this unorganized sector. And at the same time, when we take this organized sector, this organized sector is expanding very slowly and it is giving very less number of opportunities to the people. Therefore, the people don't have other opportunity. They just have to work in this unorganized sector and they have to face all these problems. And especially some of the companies or some of the organizations, what they are doing is that slowly they started turning from organized sector to unorganized sector. The reasons may be because to avoid the tax, sometimes no need to provide the salaries on holidays, public holidays, or sometimes no need to provide this regular employment. So because of these reasons, some companies, they are slowly turning from organized to unorganized sector, and because of this, most number of the people, they are working in this unorganized sector and they are facing a lot of these problems, and because of this we need to protect them very necessarily. And at the same time, after this 1990s, most of the people, they were coming and falling under this unorganized sector. It may be because of the government rules and regulations during that time, maybe because of this liberalization, privatization as well as globalization, about which we will discuss in the upcoming chapters. So after 1990s, the number of people working in unorganized sector has increased even more. So there is some necessary to protect these workers. So but before protecting them, we need to identify who are these people in rural areas as well as these urban areas. So that's what, who need this protection in rural areas. That means who are the people who are mainly coming under this unorganized sector in rural areas. So mainly this landless agricultural laborers in the rural areas, as well as small and marginal farmers and sharecroppers, artisans. What do you mean by the sharecroppers is that some farmers, they'll take land of someone else and they'll do it for this on a rental basis, or sometimes we also call it as this tenants. So these kind of farmers, especially small farmers, marginal farmers, as well as laborers, especially in the rural areas. And at the same time, you can also take these artisans who make pots, or goldsmith or blacksmith, or it can be washerman, whoever it may be. All these people, they come under this unorganized sector. And how can we protect them? What is the solution for them is that first we can provide the adequate number of seeds required for these farmers. Usually these farmers, they face a lot of problem when they come to this when they go for this buying these seeds, especially small and marginal farmers. They don't have enough money to buy these seeds. Suppose if the government provides the seeds at a lesser or cheaper rate, and if it provides the subsidies, it can actually protect these farmers. And it also should provide these agricultural inputs. What do you mean by these agricultural inputs is that some of the tools required, maybe fertilizers, maybe apart from fertilizers, pesticides, or maybe other irrigation facilities, whatever is required for this farming, the government should also provide. And at the same time, providing this credit to the farmers. Credit means loans in the banks, which may also save these farmers. And you can also take providing the storage facilities as well as marketing outlets. Once the crop is yielded, and that means once it is harvested, right now at that moment there may not be the proper price for their product, so where they need to store their output. So therefore we require these storage facilities, and after when the right time comes to sell it, they also require this marketing. So if government tries to provide these facilities in these rural areas, at least we can protect the people in these rural areas. And what about these urban areas? Who are the people coming under these urban areas? See, workers in small scale industries, especially people who comes under this unorganized sector in urban areas, are these workers in the small scale industry. Why? Because they don't have a paid leaves, no medical leaves, and on holidays they won't get any kind of payment, and they are highly in dangerous position, or in, we can also say, vulnerable situation where they face a lot of problems. And construction workers, or you can also call them casual workers, trade and transport workers, you can say street vendors, garment makers, rag pickers, etc., etc. In urban areas, n number of people will be coming under this unorganized sector. Therefore, here also it is highly required to protect these workers in this unorganized sector. So how to protect them? The main one of the very important thing is that small scale industry needs protection. That means the government should try to protect the small scale industries. It should try to support these small scale industries so that automatically the workers in this small scale industry can get benefit. And workers also need to be protected. These small scale vendors, small street vendors, garment makers, if government tries to provide some kind of loan, or we have also seen how to create more employment. So if government try to provide those facilities, we can actually protect these workers. And there is one more section of people who also require this protection, that is when it comes to the social groups such as scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, as well as backward caste people. Already they get low wages, low payments at the workplace, but apart from that they also face the discrimination based on their caste. Especially in the workplaces, people abuse this SC, ST or OBC people based on their caste, and they'll show some kind of discrimination. Therefore, apart from this, all these workers, especially people belonging to these communities, they also require this protection from this other workers. So therefore, in urban areas we can protect from this, we have to protect this SC, ST, BC social community groups. At the same time, we should also protect all this number of people so that we can actually save the people from this unorganized sector. And next we will see about this difference between this private and public sector enterprises. Let us discuss about the next topic of this chapter, that is sectors in terms of this ownership. So based on the ownership, the sectors are actually divided again into two different categories. One is public sector, the second one is this private sector. So let us discuss about these differences between public sector as well as private sector. So first let us start with this public sector. Public sector means what? Basically, assets in the public sector are owned, managed and operated by the government. So that's what you see. Government owns most of the assets, and at the same time the government will only provide the services. That means the public sector means all those assets are owned by the government and it provides the services. And here the very important motive of this public sector is it is not to earn the profits. That means it would never try to earn the profits, but its utmost aim is to provide the services to the public. That's why sometimes public sector or public service also we used to say. So it never tries to earn the profits. It always aims to provide only profits, provide services to the people. And examples, you take Indian Railways, one of the best example for public sector, and you can also take Indian postal system, which is also the best example for this public sector. Then what about this private sector? Here the ownership of assets are completely under the control of an individual or a group of people or by a company. So here you can see ownership of the assets in delivery of services in the hands of private individuals, maybe in the hands of a company, or maybe in the hands of a group of people. And what is the main motive of this private sector? This private sector main motive is to earn the profits. It is always profit motive. Its aim is to earn the profits. And here, if you want to enjoy any kind of services provided by the private sector, you need to pay money to this private sector. That's why it is something like a paid service too. And what are the examples that are coming under this? That is, one is Tisco, Tata Iron and Steel Company Limited, as well as Reliance Industries Limited. Not only this, there are many other things are there which comes under this private sector, and private sector always aims to earn profits, whereas public sector it always aims to provide services to the public. And there are some services though the government private sector cannot be provided, it always requires this government support. So why it requires this government support, that we will see now. I told you that there are some services where private sector cannot provide at a reasonable cost, and it is must ensure that public sector has to provide all these services. So what might be the reason why private sector cannot provide all these services is that the first and very important reason is that some services need a large amount of money which is beyond the capacity of private sector. Maybe that means those, for example, you take some services like construction of roads or maybe construction of dams. So these kind of activities, they require more and more amount of money, but the private sector or any individual company may not be able may not be able to afford that much money, or may not be able to spend that much money. So therefore government has to provide these services such as providing electricity, generating this electricity, construction of dams, as well as you can also take this construction of roads. So all these activities, they require more and more money which is beyond the capacity of this private sector. And the second thing is that collecting, even suppose if the government has provided, if private sector has provided these services, collecting money from thousands of people is not at all easy. Suppose private sector has set up something, but many thousands or some crores of people use that, and collecting money from that many people is a very difficult task for this private sector. Then the next thing is that even if they provide, suppose even if a private company is able to provide this, they will charge a higher amount of cost when they provide these services. Maybe that's why some people in the country, they always suppose whenever if government decides to privatize any company or anything, suppose when government has made a proposal such as making railways as a private sector, what will happen is that some people assume that these private people, they provide the services at a higher cost which may not be affordable to the common people, which common people may not be able to afford. That is why it has to be provided by the government only. So these are the some of the main reasons why private sector cannot provide some services at a reasonable cost. That is again easy because it is beyond the capacity, or it is very difficult to collect money from them. At the same time, it may charge more and more money even if they provide the services. And apart from that, there are some activities which the government has to support. Apart from providing the services, the government it is also required to support this what is known some of the activities. So what are those activities mainly government should support is that one is supplying the electricity at a cheaper cost to the small scale industries or industries. Suppose if the government is providing the electricity to the small industries or industries at a rate which is also supplying to the normal public means, then the entire money spent by the private company, they have to pay this electricity bill only. That means the profits which they earn may have to spend on paying this electricity bill. Therefore government will usually provide the electricity at a cheaper cost to these industries. And next thing is it is also required to provide this storage facilities for the farmers, and at the same time it is also required to provide this something known as MSP, minimum support price, where the government will buy this food items produced by the farmers at a minimum support price, and at the same time it also provides the storage facilities, and at the same time government it also supplies the food items at a low cost through this PDS system or ration shop system. You all know this public distribution system. So this system, through this PDS system, government will provide food items to the poor people at a cheaper cost. So how government is doing? First, it is buying things from farmers at a minimum support price, providing storage facilities, storing it, and at the same time every month in the form of PDS system, it is providing at a cheaper rate, or it is providing the food items at a cheaper cost to the people. And not only that, the government has some responsibility in providing some facilities. What are those? providing health facilities and education facilities, it is a high responsibility of the government to provide a quality education, at the same time a very good quality of health facilities, maybe constructing government hospitals, colleges, institutions, whatever it may be. It is the responsibility of the government to provide all these education and health services. At the same time, government should also provide normally the safe drinking water or nutrition facilities. Why? Because there is a lot of malnutrition happening in the country, and many people, many children especially, they die because of this malnutrition. Therefore, it is also the responsibility to provide all these services by the government. So there are some activities which government has to provide, there are some activities which government has to support, and there are some services where private sector cannot provide and government has to provide. So with this, we have completed this chapter called Sectors of the Indian Economy. Hope it is clear and understood. In the next lectures, we will discuss a new chapter from geography, that is Minerals and Energy Resources. Thank you.